Hi everyone, I am so excited because I'm speaking with author Kelly Harms and we are talking about her brand new book. It's her third novel. You want to hold up the cover so we can look at the
I would
gorgeous
love to.
cover.
I'm going to put it right.
There we go. The
Right.
Overdue Life of Amy Byler. And you want to hear a funny story, Kelly? So one day, I'm trying to think of which child of I have 6 children. I don't know if I mentioned that.
Did you see my looking for? I mean, happiest? That's what I meant.
My one son was in Florida and he was having wisdom teeth issues. He was in school. He's in college, right? So I was trying to do work. I'm trying not to pay attention, because there was nothing I could do. I was trying to get him home, but I was like, I'm just going to work, right? So we have something in our world called the tall poppies, okay? And you are a tall poppy author, and I have my connections with the tall poppies. So I sent off a little message, and I'm like, hi, can you help me find Amy Byler? And she messages me right back and she's like, you mean Kelly Harms who wrote the book on, I'm like, I'm so sorry. I'm trying to think. I can't even think anymore. It was like early in the morning.
Amy's a real person now. It's totally fine. I will try to channel her for this interview. I'll do my best.
It was just so funny. She's like, you mean the character? It was really fun. And then I look at the cover. I'm like, oh yeah, that's not her name. Okay. Yeah. So sorry about that, Kelly. I'm like calling you Amy. Oh well. It made for a good story, right? So anyway,
it shows how when we're like task jumping all the time, there's just no hope.
There is none. Especially when you think like, oh, I'm not gonna think about that one thing that I can have absolutely no control over. So I think I'll just work. And so I think you're putting on that working brain and
your real brain is like, oh no.
Yeah. No. She got a good kick out of it too, though. She was like, that's really funny. I'm like, thanks for me looking really stupid, but
I would not worry about it. This is not the first nor the last time that will happen.
Well, and it's funny because it's not like I haven't seen this book. I've seen this book since January coming up, and it was just like one of those like brain blips that, because I've seen this cover like all over the place since, the beginning of the year. Yeah. And oh my gosh. And it surpassed my I knew what kind of book it was going to be. I knew it was going to be fun. And I was like so excited because I read so many serious thriller and so I love fun books because I'm like, yes, I can just sit down and read a really fun book. And I love your writing. I loved Amy. Oh my gosh, she's like my hero. Like I loved her.
She was fun to write. She's like one of the least screwed up characters I've ever written before. So I really got to have fun like having somebody who's a little bit more together than I am on the page and channeling that side of myself. It was really nice.
Well, I have to tell you this story because Amy and I, we're kind of similar. My first marriage, I had 3 children, okay? And they were all young, under kindergarten age, right? And my ex-husband was a Marine. And he took a job somewhere where we weren't and left and didn't tell us. Till he got there. And then he was like, oh, I took this job. I'm in D.C. He's in North Carolina. I'm like, are you coming back? And he's like, I don't think so. And I'm like,
oh, wow.
So I had 1 year to live on military housing till they would kick me off. And I was working. And then I had to move us to another state. I'm from Pennsylvania. So I had to move us back to Pennsylvania. And we didn't get divorced for at least 3 or 4 years because he then went overseas. Just and that's what I'm reading Amy's story.
It's not unbelievable. Nobody gets in a big hurry for that. What's the point?
Isn't that crazy? And no, I never signed up for child support. Never did. I never got a dime from him. I mean, I struggled. I worked. I did everything I had to do. And then one day he came back, to visit.
Really?
He came back to visit a couple of years, and then the kids didn't know him, and they weren't really having any of him. But then now, they're adults. He still doesn't know them that well, but they do know him a little bit. They do know of him. But it was just when I was reading him in the beginning, because this is not a spoiler. This is first chapter stuff. And I was reading it going what? It's been so many years you kind of forget. I seriously, like, it's, I have 6 children now. It was the past. It was in the past. But I don't know. All I want to tell you is that if I would have had one of his credit cards, I'd have spent it.
I know. You and me both, sister.
So anyway, so I was like, how did she come up with this character that is so much like my life? How did she do that?
Because it's like so many people.
Because it's not that, it was unusual when I was going through it, but it's not, right?
Right. I mean, like, I can't say what's happening or not happening, but sometimes, I guess the best way to say it is, typically, it is mom who stays, and it's not always the case.
It's not always the case,
but that's my experience, and it sounds like it's your experience, and it was definitely Amy's experience. And we do get ourselves into little situations where we are so forward-thinking and so confident in what our original plan is. Everyone does.
Yes.
That just about every reader has said, I can relate to a situation where the rug has been pulled out underneath me, and I had no preparation for what was about to happen next.
Right. Well, more than anything, it's like that. It's like like you said, having that rug pulled, and then you're like sitting there going, "Wait, okay, hold on a second."
What's the first priority? Even you just don't know. And mostly when it's with the mom, it's just like everything falls away, and the kids just become the center of the universe, and you do whatever it takes to keep them chugging along.
Yeah, and in this book, her children are older.
Mm-hmm.
My children were young, and I shouldn't say the problem, but what we do with young children is we try to protect them then from that other parent.
Mm-hmm.
Like, where's daddy? Oh, I had
He's
made up
on
stories.
A trip, or yeah.
I made up the craziest stories. And then, like, for my sons who were in school, they were getting free lunches because I was so poor. So they asked me, they were like, are we poor? I'm like, no, your dad is so awesome that they give you free lunches because that's how awesome your dad is. It's like...
Well, so you could relate to the book then.
I know. So it's almost like we make like we're so about protecting them.
About
crazy.
their little self-esteems and all these things, which are valuable and it's helpful. I mean, it certainly beats the alternative, which is your son of a gun father, that piece of junk or whatever. That's no way to live either.
No. And, that's why I was cracking up a lot of times with her because I was like, I hear you, Amy. I hear you. But, my favorite part about this book are her letters from her daughter in the beginning of the chapters.
Mine too. Those were all an afterthought, I have to be honest. I wrote the whole book without them.
Really?
Corey started talking to me in earnest when her mom had been gone for like a while, and she just started to tell me what was happening back home. And I was like, okay, I'll write that down and figure out how to weave it in. But then I realized she had so much personality.
Yeah.
I know she's not a real person, but it felt like she had a lot to tell me, and it was really important that I get it on the page.
No, I believe that. I believe those characters. I mean, you spend so much time writing them. I do believe it's a back and forth after a while,
And Corey is like smart and insightful, but she's still also 16, and she knows everything. And then when she doesn't know everything, it comes as a shock to her. So she was fun.
Yeah. And I remember like one, like I said, he came back in their life like 1 or 2 times as a child and then as an adult, as they became adults. But I do remember them, and he was not like John. Yeah. I'm like, is that his name? He wasn't acting very, he acted like he did nothing wrong. So he would come back with a little tude, and they were really kind of having none of it. But I love Corey when she's talking about like, yeah, he just gave me $300 because he's still feeling bad, and And
I'm taking it. I'm a terrible person, and I don't care. She's pretty funny.
Well, and I have I've had 2 teenage daughters. They're adults now, and that's why I think I connected with her so much because like the way she talks to her mom is like, I wish they would have been that nice all the time, because really, like they weren't
in
always,
real life.
right.
No.
They weren't always that nice, but they would probably think they were. So, well.
I mean, you and I both know that like the story has like a little sequel called Corey Becomes a Full-Fledged Rebelling Teen, and we don't want to read that yet.
Yeah, but at least in those letters, like, you gave her, that we empathized with her and her struggles and her, because I know I wasn't that open with my mom. Like, I told my mom she knew as a teenager, she knew very little. How was your day? Good. Like, very little about my life.
Yeah. Well, and I've heard people say that in situations where the parents are split up, sometimes that causes kind of a more peer-to-peer relationship, sort of. So at times, Corey is kind of bossing Amy around. And Amy, she seems like a great mom to me. She doesn't really take it, but she doesn't make Corey feel like less than by saying, "Oh no, girl, this is not your choice." She still brings Corey along to some of the same decisions that she would want her to make.
Yeah.
So their relationship was fun to write.
Oh, absolutely.
I'm glad you enjoyed it.
Oh my gosh. Like I said, more than anything, your sense of humor with Amy, like, I just enjoyed that writing so much, because sometimes I'll read women's fiction and you can tell if they're trying too hard to be funny. You can almost see through it.
I am trying not to be funny, but
and I think that's awesome, because I think that comes across like I didn't feel like there was trying in the writing. It was just like, when I would laugh, it wasn't like, how like for TV shows, how they have you hear the audience fake laugh, right? Well, I felt like it wasn't like, oh, laugh now. Like, I was laughing not at the laugh nows, right?
Oh, yeah. That's really nice.
Yeah,
I think really that happens in the edit.
That's a really good, like, I'm glad I thought of that, because that's exactly how it was. I was like chuckling through some of the things that I don't think that other people would chuckle through. They probably have their own things that they would think were funny, but and then that's how you did a great job too, when everybody finds something in Amy different that they can relate to, Yeah.
And I've heard from readers, and I love hearing from readers, and everybody sees a little bit of their own story in this, and that's really gratifying.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, you don't have to be a single mom to think parenting is hard.
No, you don't have to be a single mom to get fun out of this, because just being a mom, even if you're not a mom, like, I think there's a lot because there's a lot of the book where she's not a mom. So, hey,
Exactly. And I think, like, I was able to write Lena and Talia, her two best friends, from a perspective of watching a mom go through all of this. And I know that before I started the parenthood party, I looked at my friends and I was like, what the heck is happening over there? What's going on in their house? And so I was able to write that perspective in on top of it. So that I try to get that story that, this isn't the only way to be a woman, and there's all kinds of different ways to do it across to the page.
Yeah. Even when I was a single mom, I'm a single mom again, actually. I got to do it twice, but my kids are older now. So, yeah. But the thing that I noticed, even when we're married, the women, like my women friends, would say to me, "Gosh, don't you wish we could just like house all the kids and the wives together?" Kind of
the sister wife thing, and
kind of a sister wife thing, but not because it was like we functioned well together. Mm-hmm. And when a mom was in control, we were like, oh, okay, a mom's, and like we can feel safe, and she did that with Lena and felt very safe having her kids listen to Lena or leaving their children with Lena. And I was like, yeah, for some reason but then one of my male
friends and leaving her kids with the childless former nun.
Yes.
When she's got to leave him one night with her ex-husband, who was like ostensibly a parent at one time, she, just like we all, oh my God, did you remember to defrost the, lasagna at the certain rate? Just, her brain won't stop running.
Oh, yeah.
The first thing she asks the first night he calls is, are they alive?
Are they alive?
That's taken from my own experience, for sure.
Absolutely. You know what, even when I'd have babies and, if I'd leave them with the dad, right, and I'd come back, and when I'd hold them, it was like they'd give this like, just this like silent, like, oh my gosh, she's back. Thank God. She's back.
Well, my co-parent does a perfectly capable job, but there's always just this feeling when he comes home.
Exactly.
For sure.
Exactly. Well,
Yeah.
next thing I should say we have to talk about is that you are Tall Poppy. I love the
Oh,
Tall
yeah.
Poppies more than life. I love each and every one. All of you guys are so awesome. If I know that I'm going to be doing an interview with one, like, I don't even have to worry about it. Like, I'm like, oh my God, it's going to be fun. Like, there is something fun about you guys, okay?
We actually are a lot of fun. We have like once a year we get together, and it's from everywhere, and we have more fun than we should. But we were sort of cobbled together because most of us are kind of further on the professionalism scale, or more in line with like the original few founders in terms of how we behave towards our careers and what we want out of it. And on top of that, I think we're really out-facing. The Poppies are, at their heart, it's a group of authors, but really what makes up the Poppies are all the people that we work with on a regular basis to talk about books from our, social networks. And if you look at our feeds, if you follow #TallPoppies, you'll see that there's just, if you love books, if you want to talk about literacy in the women's community, you will get your fill there.
Absolutely.
And it doesn't have to be like self-promotion in your face all the time, even though that's a large part of our job as writers. So that's why we love it so much. And we're, those of us who are in it all the way,
Yeah. One of my favorite days.
It's a club for smart women who love smart books,
Absolutely. And one of my favorite days of my entire life was being a Tall Poppy blogger. Like, getting that email. And I was like, what? I didn't even know that was a thing, and I get to be one? Like, I didn't even know it was a thing. But then now I get, like, all the insider stuff, and I'm like...
the best thing is you get all our books before anyone else does.
I get all the books, and...
It's easier for you guys to get books than it is for me to get books.
But my next step... Okay, so now I'm in... Right? Like,
Yay.
I'm one step in. My next step is to come to a Tall Poppy thing. Like, I think you guys should have, like, your own little thing where you guys get together, and then, like, the next day or, like, later or earlier, I don't care when, you invite the bloggers.
We still want to do that. We are.
Because all of us bloggers are also
let's just
friends.
say it's in committee, and if we decide we're going to do something, we do it. So.
Good. Well, I can put that out there because you know what? The bloggers, all of us that are the bloggers, like, we're friends. I'm friends with so many of the bloggers because we support each other on Instagram and Facebook and, social media.
Yes,
because
see it.
We're reading, like, as we're getting different books, and it's like, wait, did you get this one? Did you get that? Like, we're like this different.
Which ones are not missables? And yeah, exactly. That is so the creator of Tall Poppies, Anne Garvin, is just a community builder deep in her heart.
Oh,
and she sees community everywhere she goes. So whether it's bloggers or it's readers or it's authors and all the other places in between, she's just building.
Yeah, and she really hasn't. And it's really fun for me as a reader. I've been a reader my whole life, and I was like, trying to think back to the days when you would just walk into a store and not know release dates. Like, I live on release dates, okay? Like, not know. Like, we were just so not in the know. We were like, oh, V.C. Andrews has a new book? Oh, awesome. I never saw that one before. Like, we didn't know.
I know.
Publishers Weekly was like our when I got in touch with that was like my closest, you go to a magazine and find out what books were released. But now it's like, I know they're coming up like 3 months, 4 sometimes months ahead of time. It's on my calendar, like,
So don't you, doesn't a little piece of you miss wandering into the bookstore and just being like, what's here? It's all the possibilities.
It's true. I do feel when I walk into Barnes and Noble, it's more, I'm like always counting, like, and then if I find a book I didn't know, I'm like, who's that?
What's this?
But you guys, even on your the Tall Poppies page, you support other authors, not just the Tall Poppies.
Oh,
you
yeah,
have guests on all the time because I find people through that. I mean, that's what amazes me about you guys is like you're always sharing, always supporting community, always out there to give a helping hand to somebody who's starting out. And
because we've all been there, and there's plenty of book love to go around.
Exactly.
The idea that there's some sort of like limited amount of space is not true in my experience.
No.
It's just not true.
No, and you know what somebody said to me? We're not vying for readers. We're vying for the reader, like against TV. Like we're not. It's not like which book are
for a time for the readership. Exactly.
Yes. Yes. But
so it doesn't. I mean, some people don't want to read comedy books. That's fine. We'll hook you up with something you do love. You know.
Oh, that's another thing. Yes, you guys. It's all wide range of books. You know, but yeah. But
I mean, even fiction and fiction. You'll find what you want.
You'll find whatever you want. And what I'm seeing out there, though, is that I feel like there's a resurgence of readers. I mean, you know, I feel like maybe because of social media, maybe because the authors are out there. Like, did we ever know the faces of authors? We did not know their face if they on the back of the book. I wanted to see what Danielle Steele looked like in the 80s. Like, you know, like. But now you guys are like out. You're like celebrities, you know.
No. You cannot agree with that, but okay.
But it's, you know what? It's a celebrity in the nice sense of the word because it's not so blown up that you aren't friends or don't have like your readers know you. They can ask you questions. They can, book clubs, virtual book clubs, and all that stuff. You know, is so amazing. And I see people talking about your book all the time since it came out. I know. I get so happy about that. I can't even tell you. I feel like they're my babies, even though it's your baby. I'm like, there it is. Oh, look how good it's doing. I watch the Amazon charts. I watch them crawling up the Amazon charts.
Unreal. But I don't even know what to think about that.
I don't know.
I mean, it's just happening, and I am like still at home, still writing, still momming, still wearing pajama pants half the day, and then you watch it like soar up the charts, and you're like, whoa, how did this happen?
And you know what makes me
happy?
Awesome.
Is that, I'm thrilled.
Yeah, not that, you know, I love the New York Times chart, okay, but that's just one. Like, to me, it's like, I'm so happy there are others.
Oh, yeah, know? Because it's just a diversity issue. Like, we do need to see, like, all the numbers.
Yes.
And, yeah, it's been crazy. I don't know what to say. It's just been a wild ride.
Yeah, has this book, I mean, is this the first one of yours that's really blown
This is
up?
The breakout book, so to speak. Like, that's the cliche. That I was very happy with my publications for my first two books. They had beautiful packages, lovely hardcovers. This is the first one where that sort of like long tail thing has happened, where, you know, instead of the big moment happening and then you go off back into your like cave and write another one, this one's had sort of like a little bit less of that fall off at the end. So, yeah. And so I can't go back in my cave yet.
No, you can't, because they're like, that's right. People are still calling you about this book. And, you know, and it's funny that I said that because I realized that it's a lot of times the third book. Like that, for some reason, that third book thing is very, so for any authors out there that are on your first or second book, sometimes it's that third book, you know?
I think there's a rhyme to that reason. There is, the first book, I have talked to a lot of writers. We often sort of have years to think it through and get it on paper, and it doesn't feel that much of a labor. It's really fun. Then you have a ton of pressure from the results of the first book. Pressure, like self-imposed pressure. But the better the first book does, the more pressure you feel on the second book. And pressure and creativity are not good friends with each other. Right. So that one's kind of an uphill struggle where you're like, do I really know how to write books? I'm not sure. Am I one-hit wonder? All those questions start to go through your head. And then you learn so much about craft writing that second book that it really informs the work thereafter. So I'm hoping that, you know, I feel very much more accomplished as a writer each book that I do. And this fourth one, like I can see a different thing happening. And as I write it, I can see places where I'm going to pull back or add more already instead of just sort of writing blindly. So it's been a very different experience every single book. Which is bummer because I thought I would just be able to sit down like a robot and tap these out. It is not like that at all.
No, but it's fun. And I think, in everything in life, we get better as we keep doing things. I mean, I think
Well, that's the goal, but that's not always the case. I mean, there are some times where, when you're writing in a vacuum and you're writing for yourself and you're writing that first book, you have to give yourself so much permission and freedom. That beginner's mindset, that you have on that first book. Right. And that's what I'm always trying to reclaim. It's not easy. But I was trying to look back for that Kelly that didn't know what the market wanted and didn't know what her sales numbers were and didn't think, what's the cover going to look like if I write it this way? That sort of naivete.
Yes. Yeah. I can see how that would get in your head. Or just like one review of somebody saying, I didn't like this. And then you're like, oh, I didn't like that.
Yeah.
But it's one person,
Yeah, I don't read my reviews. It's just not healthy for me.
Good.
But I know that there's been some complaining about how marriages are depicted in this one. And so it's been sort of in the back of my mind. Like, I think that I take the marriage in this book very seriously.
Oh. Very.
So I don't want anyone to think that I'm anti-marriage or anything.
No, I think that came out, I think that there are so many women like us that experience, the abnormal is almost that perfect marriage thing.
That's true.
I don't even buy it. I don't even buy it anymore. Like, it's like,
I
you
think
look at it and you're like,
it's totally okay and fair if people want to keep their marriage problems to themselves too. Right. Like, that's a legitimate thing. But they still have problems. Like, it's still a challenge. It's still the hardest relationship you'll ever have in your life.
Absolutely.
And hopefully the most meaningful, but sometimes not,
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And I think, it's very difficult for us because we, when I first was going through it, I didn't tell anybody what I was going through. I'd show up at work but I think that now it's kind of healthier for the children, a little bit, because it's like, it's not that dramatic.
Some terrible, deep, dark secret. Yes,
right.
That
it's not
that be ashamed about.
Exactly. So I love her. I love everything about her. I think she took it very seriously. I think she's awesome, and I can't wait to read your new book. So are you doing like a book a year right now?
That's the goal, yep. Okay. And I think we're there. I think we'll be there.
Awesome.
So sometime next year, you can look for it, probably in the spring again, because I'm such a spring person.
Oh.
And I think, the fun thing about this is that I like being synced up with Mother's Day.
Yes.
I get to write a lot of articles about other books for moms, so that's really fun to come up at this time and be able to tell everybody about all my favorite authors. So.
Yeah. And you know what? As I get older, like, and even I have 6 children, so Mother's Day, I find that thinking about my own mom, and she passed away a couple of years ago, but like to me, that relationship is like every Mother's Day now, I never think about me. Like, I always think about her. And it wasn't that way when I was younger. I think that as I get older, like that relationship becomes more sweet to me, So I used to not like Mother's Day that much, but when she passed away, but now I'm like, no, there's a sweetness to that relationship,
Yes, I completely understand what you're saying. I have seen it so much where people talk about their experiences parenting versus their experiences being grandparents.
Yes.
And there's that sweetness too.
Yes.
And so it's very fruitful. It feels good in my heart. And
yeah. So it's a day to just pause and appreciate. That's what I think,
yeah.
What we've all been through. But anyway, let's see the cover again, because everybody, I am going to be putting, I will put the IndieBound link because you can go.
Yes, that would be great. And the other thing that people should know is that if you want the audio, I'm a huge fan of Libro FM. Libro FM is a way to get one audiobook a month for dirt cheap. So check it out.
I never even heard it. I never even heard of it.
It is a project that works so that the profits from the audiobook you purchase go to your local bookseller.
Oh, I love that. I am looking that up today.
So you can check it out. Now, I am available everywhere you can find books. Everywhere. But I love to say my independent bookstore here in Madison is Mystery to Me, and they have a ton of signed copies. So
I love local
call them if you need it.
Yes, and that's why I always put the IndieBound link, because if you want the hardcover, go to this bookstore, go look around, Go support
Yeah.
your local bookstore, you know?
Exactly. And just pop in and say hello and see what they can say. I love The Overdue Life of Amy Byler. What should I read next? And you will get the hookup.
Yes, they are. I love my people too. I have the same experience, and they always support authors. They
Mm-hmm.
love authors. But
Yeah.
I mean, I'm going to put the Amazon link because you can get the Kindle. If you like the Kindle,
And
you
let's
get it.
be real, that price is unbeatable. So
It is.
buy from both. That's what I say.
I usually do. I tell you what, because I collect the hardcovers, and I usually use digital to read now. But I do listen to audios too. So I'm going to look up that because I do listen to audios a lot, especially for nonfiction. I find when I want somebody giving me advice, I want it in audio.
And I like pushing the little 1.5 speed on the book, just like ever come at me.
And see how fast you can do it. Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, it is so nice to meet you, Kelly. I can't wait to talk to you next year and talk about your newest book. I feel like I made a friend, another tall poppy friend, and that always makes me very excited.
I can't wait till we can all meet in real life.
Yes.
Thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, thank you, and have a great weekend.
Bye-bye.
Have a nice day. Bye-bye.